Hey, what's going on? It's Robbie, and um, yeah, I guess I had a couple thoughts I wanted to go over and stir things up a little bit for the brothers and sisters. And this is in regards to something I believe it's probably more prominent of knowing than I'm thinking it might be, but I think of it as probably one of the most deadly um, things, or one of the most deadly traps I've ever heard of or seen among the body of Christ. I mean, I know there's probably more things that are so difficult. You think about martyrs, you think about um, really horrible things that people go through with their in the doctors, and just really hard surgeries or whatever, all kinds of different things that people go through. So in some in some sense, excuse me. In some sense, I think that this one is really hard because it's something that's more than just um, obvious pain, as horrible as some of that stuff can be, some of the persecution can be. But it's something that I think is really hard because it's so tricky, and the trickiness of it is what makes it so difficult and so deceiving and so dangerous. And the best way I could paint the portrait, I started to talk about this before last week at the group, and I think somewhere else before, and so there might be a recording of it somewhere. But it was in regards to Jonah and the people on the ship going to Tarshish. They're heading out. They didn't know anything about his situation, and so all of a sudden comes the drama. The weather is going insane. The weather is just not normal. It's just insane. It's like there is such a heavy unrest. It's such a mighty unrest, and they didn't know what to do. They were going frantic, and it wasn't even their fault, because they just happened to strike some bad luck by having the wrong guy join the team, and you know, they're good guys. Whether or not they were godly or not, they were good guys. They wanted to do right, and the way the Bible teaches you, it just shows you that they put him into the water and let him go after they draw the straws and everything. But they were fearful about letting him go, okay? It wasn't a simple matter for them to let him go. I don't believe it was, because they were afraid that they'd be in trouble with God for doing it. And it's like the worst place. It's a really horrible trap to get into when you can see, like, as they started to put him into the water, the waves just calm down. They just go totally pick him back up. In the cartoon they were doing just to something that kind of show maybe what could have happened. And I believe that could have very well happened, that they put him in the water just to see if this is real, because they didn't want to put him in. It was not an easy decision to drop him in the water. And that part right there, even though it may not have been stressed, it's being stressed right now. It's in the Word, and they put him in. They put his feet into the water, and the whole thing calms down. No chaos, no drama, just peace. And they were like, "Man, may this man's God forgive us for dropping him," because they knew they had to make a decision. Either they're all going to die in the drama, or they were going to let it go. They're just going to let that person go. And I was just like, whoa, man. Because you get into a situation like that, and you realize you got into a bad deal. You realized you got into something that was not healthy, and you didn't know how to handle it, and it was just messy, and like, you just, like, all you need to do is just drop it. Whatever it was, whatever Jonah you have, it could have been something that holding on to it is causing drama, and that you need to drop it so it will not continue to cause the storm. And it's like, it's scary. They were scared to let him go because they didn't know there was going to be repercussions. Like, when we let go of something that we're comfortable with, we're used to it. Not murdering somebody in their situation, and for us, it's like a comfort zone that we're used to. We're like, I'm comfortable here, even though I sense a storm there. It's like I'm not used to not having this in my hand, and so there's a trick there. It's like you lose either way, but there's at least the storm's over. At least the storm's over, and even if it doesn't, at least the storm after the storm of wondering of like what's going to happen now. Like, well, I'm not who I used to be now. I don't have this. I don't have Jonah in my hand. I don't have it. Like, what's going to happen? I had to let him go. The storm is over. Now you're wondering, is Jonah's God going to kill me for it now? Is he going to nail me for this thing? You know, and I've had a very difficult time dropping Jonah. You know, it's like he was a friend, and they didn't want him to go down. He's just a guy, but they they didn't want to do it. It wasn't an easy thing for them to just, okay, no problem, let's just throw him over. I believe it was a very difficult decision for them to make, and it was something that they felt like they had to do, otherwise they wouldn't have done it. They probably would have stalled a lot longer until it got so bad that they just dropped him. But it's like you're in that rock and a hard place. You just cannot win, you know? Saw this like post about leadership one time. I thought it was really good. Kind of talking against the cheap shot voices, all these people taking pot shots against people for making certain decisions, and it was a thing. It was a statement basically declaring that thank you for all the leaders out there who had to make decisions where there didn't seem to be a right answer, you know. And now there's people like, oh, I would have did like this. Why'd you do like that? Don't anything about this. Don't anything about that. And they don't have any respect for the leadership who is actually there under the pressure trying to make a decision that's going to be fitting the best for everybody, especially God. And what does God really care about in these matters? And they're so hard to make a decision where there's no right answer. Well, making those decisions is very, very difficult. And I believe that people get a Jonah where they are stuck. They feel like if they let go, it's going to be a problem. You know, it's going to be a mess. I even knew someone who let go of a marriage. And she just said, she told me she had to let go of this marriage. And she said it was the scariest thing she's ever done. She just said, I just packed my bags and told him, I don't feel right about this. This doesn't feel right. And she left. And she said, yeah, some days you have those after feelings. But she said something was like a storm. You know, it's like, you have this storm inside of you. And there's no rest. It's not fun. It's not freedom. It's just absolutely a prison. It's a furnace. And it really hurts. And you're like, well, when I drop it, there's going to be a different kind of pain. When you're in it, there's pain, but at least you have your comfort. At least it's familiar. When you let go, you don't know what's going to happen. You just have the excitement. You go back and forth. You're like excited about what can happen, and you're also in pain because you're not where you used to be, and nothing's coming yet. You're in the waiting period. And the waiting period in between there is a very, very difficult place to be. When you let go of your Jonah, your friend, you let go your friend there that you're used to having around, you're used to having as your strength, and then you had to let go. The storm was so bad that you had to let go. And it was so obvious to everybody, even Jonah didn't have a problem with it. One of the most dangerous places I can see, because you can explain either way and remain in the trap. But at least there's an end to it. I remember that girl telling me she saw her ex-husband at some party or something several months later, several months after she's had plenty of time away from the situation. And, like these guys, months later, they realize God hasn't struck them down. They didn't feel any sense of cursing on their life. So they probably start to relax. And so she said she saw him, and she just said it was such an awesome confirmation to know that I was right to leave. Because it just seemed, I could just see that there was no real connection. It was like this wedge in your soul holding you the wrong way. And when we keep our Jonah on board, we keep something in our life that's not supposed to be there, person, place, thing, whatever it is, whatever thing that's causing the storm. There's some things some storms come because God allows them to happen. Some storms come because it's an unhealthy situation. It's not a healthy connection. You know, it's not something that God is actually happy about or authorizing. So, that's it. All I want is for people to see both sides so they can hold on to the truth and not have to worry. They can let go. They can release and say, God, I really hope this is what you wanted, because this is what I really feel is right. Everything else feels so wrong. And then you let go. And then everything is okay again. Yeah, you have some bad days, but you have a knowing that you know you're doing it right and allowing God to do whatever he needs to do in your life and Jonah's life and your friend's life. Some of those fears, they try to come and bite you again for days after, maybe weeks after, depending on how serious. But overall, you get through it, and you get victory, and then you make it through. It's very powerful, and it's the only way. It's the only way. Christian growth without these kind of places where we are forced to face something that we never knew we had to face. I'm not talking about something that you don't care about. I'm talking about something that you care about more than you can know, more than you can even explain with words. That's what I'm talking about. It's a very, very hard thing to let go. But sometimes it gets to be so bad, the storm begins so bad, that you know that it's time, it's over. You gotta let go and let God do what he wants to do. Amen.